Established in 1952, Tamarisk Country Club was only the second 18-hole private club in the Coachella Valley. The foundation of our club is defined by its rich history and storied traditions that were born in the early days of Rancho Mirage. From its initial opening to the present, Tamarisk Country Club has continued to grow and change as its leaders responded to the needs of the times and an ever-changing membership. The original clubhouse opened its doors on February 22nd, 1952. But by the 1980s, it became obvious that new and additional amenities were needed to satisfy the requirements of the existing membership and guarantee Tamarisk's place in the future. As such, a rebuilding program was spearheaded, culminating in the opening of a brand new clubhouse in 1984, the one you're sitting in today. New tennis facilities were added, a larger dining room was built, and a golf cart storage building was constructed. Since that opening of over 30 years ago, Tamarisk has not done a major upgrade. And while our building and grounds have served our members well, and several decorative changes have been authorized since then, there is no question, just like the 1980s, we must respond to the changing times. While Tamarisk is second to none in offering an extensive array of activities, it was obvious that more space was needed for such programs as private dinners, guest speakers, discussion groups, movies, music appreciation, speeches, and stretch classes. To that end, the board named an architectural committee consisting of members well suited to different aspects of design and development, member services, and financial acumen. Over the past year, several different versions of possible renovations and upgrades were reviewed and discussed. The target was to create a plan that membership would embrace that paved the way for attracting new members. Once you see the presentation, you think you will agree with what the leadership from the board, along with the excellent recommendations of the architectural committee, has met the board's challenges. I commend everyone for working together towards a unified goal. You met the board members at the annual general meeting last week. Now please meet the members of the architectural committee today. Elliot Cohn, who's not here today, he had business meetings on the other side of the East Coast. Gary Brill, if y'all stand please. Terry Lubar, Bunny Benarin, Beverly Schoenfeld, Mike Hirsch, and myself. What you'll be seeing today is a culmination of many hours of hard work. The committee has done an amazing job, and there's no doubt in my mind that you will be impressed. The new look of our club is beautiful and solves multiple requirements for additional space. The portico entry will be enhanced and the traffic pattern entering the club has been upgraded. Direct access will be available from the lobby to the pro shop, avoiding the need to shuttle guests through the locker rooms. Special rooms with full audio-visual capacity will be available for lectures and meetings. Private dining facilities will be just that, private. Stretch classes will be conducted away from the lobby and prying eyes. A beautiful large open patio will be available for lunch, dinner, and private parties with built-in heater and mister systems. An airy, well-lit, glass-enclosed fitness and wellness facility, complete with a variety of aerobic and workout equipment, separate free weights and stretching areas, and a movement room for any kind of fitness classes requested by the membership. And ladies, we've heard your pain. You'll have a card room that never closes. Before the presentation began, I must lay out some ground rules today. Please hold your questions until this presentation is complete. Everyone will have an opportunity to be heard, but for this presentation, everybody will be held to one question. I believe it's imperative that you, as members, are intimately involved in the process of design and development and get all of your concerns and questions addressed. Today, you are being given the opportunity to learn what the Architectural Committee and the architect have developed. At the next meeting in the near future, we'll have another presentation that will address your suggestions, comments, and concerns. For the next couple of weeks, the boards and renderings will be displayed in the lobby, and they will be there when we are done today. Study them, bring questions and comments to our General Manager, Chris Bonvy, or to the Architectural Committee members. They'll be able to address most of them, and if they can't answer them, they'll know how to get the answer and will respond back to you as quickly as possible. Alone, the Architectural Committee and your board cannot drive this project and make it a reality. Your input is vital to the process. Just like the initial opening of the club in 1952, and then the construction of the new clubhouse in 1984, we're working toward ensuring the longevity of Tamarisk Country Club while preserving its history. We look forward to updating our club so we can offer existing and potential members an environment that is not only second to none, but responds to the need of the 21st century. Bob Altevers heads up Altevers and Associates of San Diego, California. The firm is comprised of an award-winning team of professionals specializing in the design of resorts, hotels, golf and country clubs, and retail and residential projects. Country club projects, which you are probably familiar with, include facilities at Thunderbird Country Club, Pelican Hill Country Club, Toscana Country Club, and Bryn Mawr Country Club in Chicago, as well as clubs as far away as Seoul, Korea, and Tokyo, Japan. Bob Altevers will be making the presentation today and answering your questions afterwards. I think you'll be thrilled, as we are, to see what he and his team have developed and designed. After Bob has completed his presentation, there will be a brief explanation of the financial package that has been developed. Then the floor will be turned over to all of you. Please wait to make a comment until you have been asked to come up to the microphone. I think everybody would like to hear from you. The microphone sits right in the middle of the room. You don't know how much I appreciate all of you coming here today, and I thank you for your interest. These are wonderful plans, and I'm very excited to have Bob show them to you now. Members of the Tamarisk community, please help me welcome Mr. Bob Altevers.
Thank you, Bob. It's a pleasure being here to present our project to you today. First thing on business when we get this project rolling is to do something with the shade so we can see the presentation properly. It's a bit washed out, the color on the slides, but as Bob mentioned, they're going to be displayed out in the lobby afterwards, so you'll get a better look at it. Last year, we were retained by Tamarisk Country Club to work with the Clubhouse Committee to develop a master plan for the improvements of Tamarisk Country Club. The thought was at that time that Tamarisk had slipped behind somewhat in the areas of amenities, style, and quality compared to the other premier clubs in the desert. So that was the main concern going into this, that in order to ensure the future legacy of Tamarisk, that new members had to be attracted to come to the club and join. During our first meeting, we met the Clubhouse Design Committee. We were given a list of objectives that the club felt needed to be implemented to be competitive with the other clubs in the desert. And 10 points. The first item was that the new design should focus on allowing simultaneous activities to occur without impacting each other. I understand now there's a lot of problems with big events happening where the ladies' card room is taken over for those events. And when that happens, that no other services at the club are available. So that was one item that was on the list to address. Item number 2, provide a solution to improve the vehicular entrance circulation and entry experience to the club. Obviously, this is an issue with cars backing up onto Frank Sinatra. I think we've adequately addressed that, and I'll point that out to you as we go through the plans. Number 3, design the clubhouse master plan should retain as much of the existing spaces as possible and just redecorate the existing spaces. The ultimate objective at the end of the improvement phase is to have one comprehensive design concept for the entire clubhouse complex. We've addressed that. Number 4, provide a permanent lobby that is used strictly as a meet and greet for members and guests, and not be mixed up with sort of the circulation through the lobby now. Number 5, keep the ladies' car room exclusive to this activity, which means that we wanted to create a permanent, or the proposal was to provide a permanent wall that would keep the ladies' card room separate and not allow it to open up into for the major events. Number 6, refurbish existing halfway house. I'll explain with the plans later what our thoughts are with that. Number 7, add a co-ed fitness and wellness facility with full service amenities. Number 8, provide new spaces for meetings, private dining, lectures, presentations, small private parties. Meeting space to be expandable and have built-in AV systems. Number 9, provide an event room off of the main dining room of the clubhouse to accommodate special events. For instance, as Bob mentioned, private dining, meeting spaces, club type of events. We've come up with, I guess, a majority of the functions that are provided through the club, that the space of that allows 140 banquet style seats, that's round tables with 10 chairs around them. That space will also accommodate 140 theater type seating for movies. 240. Oh, I'm sorry, 240, yeah. These spaces are also subdivided so that they can be have more than one function going on at one time. They also have an adjacent exterior space that works with it in conjunction. And then last, we wanted to keep the existing cart barn structure intact. There was some discussion in the beginning of perhaps building over the top of that. We had our structural engineer look at it, and it's really cost prohibitive to do that. It'd be easier, less cost effective just to tear it down. So we wanted to maintain as is. The master plan. This shows the existing clubhouse that's right in here. Essentially, we are remodeling, proposals to remodel most of this interior space at a variety of different levels. We're proposing to add this multi-function space here that's just behind the 18th green. And then the Fitness Wellness Center is positioned up here next to the halfway house. As I mentioned, the front entrance, the vehicular entrance, what we've done now is we've created lanes that would go straight through without having to funnel both the incoming lanes through the porte cochere area. We can now go straight on through if you like. There's an egress lane that goes out. We have 2 lanes now that pass through the porte cochere. We have a slip lane that goes on through out to the main parking area. We can also, this area here is large enough now to do a turnaround so that cars coming back can turn around and pick up the members, and then they can turn and go out again. So the rest of the parking lot is pretty much left the way it is right now. So we haven't lost any parking spaces.
We can't see anything. Can you move back and forth? Right there is perfect.
Okay. Sure. The balance of the site, the golf course, we haven't done anything in terms of modifications to that. The chipping practice area by the halfway house, we're proposing slight modifications of that since the new Fitness Wellness Center is located in part of that area right now. The location of the fitness center, we tried a number of different locations for it. One of the issues is that the site is very constrained around the clubhouse. Without some major modifications to the course. So we located it next to the halfway house because we felt that there was a synergy between the functions going on in the halfway house and then the new Fitness Wellness Center. We've connected, they're physically connected by a trellis covered terrace that connects both of the facilities and allows for dining and some lounge. We've proposed a fireplace out there that would then become, really it would enhance both of those functions where you could use the halfway house for food service, for the fitness and wellness center, and the fitness and wellness center is reciprocal with the use with the halfway house. When you combine these together, this now becomes an additional amenity to the club. We now have, with some modifications to the existing halfway house, this now becomes a secondary casual restaurant area and lounge and a destination for the club members. So this, we feel, is a very nice addition to the amenities that the club has currently and will have. This is the existing clubhouse floor plan. As I mentioned this, you can see a little clearer now how this circulation works. So if you're coming in, you can either go straight on through to the parking lot, or you have 2 lanes going under a new porte cochere that we're proposing. And then you have the slip lane that goes through back to the parking area, or you can circle through and bring cars around and out in that lane. So we feel this is a major improvement to the circulation, and was one of the first of the objectives that we were given. To enhance that entrance experience, we have a covered area here before you enter the clubhouse that has a valet stand here. It also has a fire pit with some lounge seating around it for a place for people to be warm and waiting for their car as they leave. It also creates a very nice entrance into the clubhouse. As you proceed through the front doors, we have added some wing walls here to kind of define this as the new entry. That is basically for a meet and greet space. It was one of the other objectives that was on the list. Beyond the entrance, we have the lounge. Now, the lounge right now, if you can see, there's 2 columns. These columns are buried in the wall that is the liquor storage for the bar, which is right here. One of the things we thought when we saw this space is that because it's so narrow and very high, it has very odd proportion. And it's basically a space you walk through. It's a transition space and not a space for a place. So our thought was that we relocate this storage over to here, and we can open this up. These are 2 structural columns, so we retain those structural columns. But visually now, the room widens out to this side, this much. So what these columns do is they help to define circulation. So as you enter the club and you're going into the dining room, you go this way. If you're going to the private dining room or you're going to the terrace, you go through this way. That allows this space to become a place. So we're proposing 3 different seating areas, and the center one being having a new fireplace that's on center with the dining room. So as you're leaving the dining room, you can see that. So we think that this is, in the addition of having brought down some ceiling effects with some lighting, that this space, the lounge becomes a very nice place to come to and to wait for guests and members. As part of this work here, what we've done, we've also created a separate office for the maitre d'. We've also added an extra service station that's concealed for this part of the dining room. And then, as I mentioned, there's a liquor storage here that we've taken from the space over here. The bar remains the same. The plan is to just redecorate that area. The dining room pretty much remains the same, except just redecorate. And in redecorating, we also include lighting. One of our proposals throughout the club is to change all the lighting to LED, which will save an enormous amount of energy, as well as the decorative lighting to change that out. One of the areas of the clubhouse dining room, which is this area along here, that's probably the least attractive for seating. What we've done is we've proposing to put booths along here that would then make it a nice place, an attractive place to go to. You're going to have people who really like booths, so they can become a new space to go and dine and take this space and get better utilization out of it. In the administration area, our proposal is to basically leave that pretty much alone, except we would redecorate it. We are proposing to add a wall right here, which separates this open kind of workstation area from the hallway, trying to give the hallway a more privacy for people using the conference room. So the conference room becomes a little more front of the house type of space rather than walking through the administration to get to it. The other thing we're proposing to do is take the existing library and open that up so it becomes a library with a soft seating area and also a private computer workstation or business center. space that would be set up for computers. It would have printers and whatever you would need for a home office. In addition to those areas, we talked about the event center that is proposed for this area here. As I mentioned, this area, which is basically divided into two spaces, is enough for 240 people set up for theater seating. It's set up for 140 people for dining or banquet style dining, or you can set it up, as you'll see in the renderings, for a single large table with there's a fireplace here with soft seating around the fireplace. So they're multifunctional spaces now that can be used for lectures, dining, theater, all the various uses that you would want from this kind of a multifunctional space. Beyond this area here, we have the space opens up to a dedicated patio for that event center. We have a fire pit that were proposed there with some soft seating around the fire pit, and then the other areas that are set up for dining. This is all covered with a trellis that has built-in lighting, misting system, fans, all to make that space more comfortable and more usable for longer periods of the year. And another addition we're proposing is this dining area that's off the main dining. Our thought is that we'd need certain swing doors like we're showing there for exiting out of this room, but the rest of it would be sliding doors to open up onto this space to get really flow through indoor-outdoor space. This whole area here is covered with a trellis, again with the built-in heating, fans, and lighting. We've recessed this down 18 inches, so when you're sitting in this area, you're not blocking the view out to the golf course from the inside of the dining room. There's a covered walkway that comes around here that's also has a trellis above it, which creates the main access to these event rooms. And so you'd come into the event room into this little lobby, and if you're having two functions, you'd go straight into this room for that function, or in this room for this function. Also, we have access to two new restrooms in this area, and then service from the kitchen comes in from this backside over here. Then on this side of the clubhouse, the majority of this space is basically going to be redecorated with new lighting. One of the major things we have done is we've now created an access from the main entrance through here back to the locker rooms and then onto the golf shop through the clubhouse, so that you didn't have to bring people through the middle of the backside of the locker rooms. And just the entrance into the locker rooms now is much more, much nicer entrance and better experience. This is your existing fitness room. We're proposing to put private meeting rooms in this space, and it's going to have an operable wall, so it could be divided into two spaces. Also, we would have built-in AV equipment in these spaces, so they really are set up for business-type meetings. The restrooms we're just going to redecorate those. There's some minor modifications we have to do with ADA to bring that compliant, but that's in the plans, as well as any other space in here that's currently not ADA compliant. We've done a study to identify those spaces, and we will address all those so that when the project is completed, the whole facility will be ADA compliant. Locker rooms pretty much, and the card room, the men's card room remains the same, just redecorating. I might add also that there are some issues with the mechanical. Oh, okay. So in order to create this access through to the locker rooms into the golf shop, we've taken a little bit of space, a tiny space out of the ladies' locker room, but most of it comes out, or I'm sure the card room, most of it comes out of the ladies' locker room. And we have a couple of windows now that are boarded up. We can open those up, and this becomes what we're proposing as a sort of a memorabilia gallery where photos and different memorabilia from the club throughout the years can be displayed along this gallery and create a nice gallery corridor through to the back. This golf shop, we've done some minor modifications of the walls back in here, some structural modifications. We've created a shoe area here so that it's conveniently located between both the men's and the women's. So now we have one shoe attendant doing the shoes of all the members. And then the entrance into the golf shop is here, and then on out to play golf. Pardon me? Oh, yes, in addition to that, we've added 2 dressing rooms here. We currently have one, we've got 2 now. We've still have an office for the pro and storage. It's just rearranged. This is the Fitness Wellness Center. As I mentioned, we've connected the 2 buildings with this terrace with a trellis over it. And this trellis, like the other trellises, is all integrated with lighting, with heaters, with misters and fans to make it more usable. We've got a fireplace we're proposing here, which creates an interesting architectural element. It also provides an area behind it for a private garden for the salon area. Existing halfway house, our proposal is to remodel that basically with finishes to bring that up to the level of style and quality of the rest of the club. And then the entrance to the fitness center is right here. We've got 20 cart spaces, parking spaces in front to provide parking for people using the fitness center or the halfway house. We also have a cart path that comes along here that there's a access from the street over here to get access to the facilities as well. We have the main entrance to the Fitness Wellness Center is here. We've got a lounge that's sort of a multifunctional lounge. It works for both the fitness centers in conjunction with that, and it also works with the exterior terrace area. As you come into the fitness center, we've got the main control area here with a fitness director office behind. This is all the fitness stretching area here. We've got views to the mountains through this way and also to the golf course. We've got views out this way to the golf course, and then views this direction to this garden area. So this is going to be a very light area. We're proposing to have operable windows and sliding doors, so this can be opened up to fresh air and a lot of sunlight. Just beyond here is a movement studio. This would be set up for any kind of movement classes, Pilates, stretching, any kind of classes that would be set up, yoga and so forth. We have a glass wall here that can open up out to this private garden again. Then as you go down the hallway here, we have a salon area here for hair, makeup, pedicures, etc. This area has direct access from the ladies' locker room, so the ladies taking any of these treatments can come and go without having to go out into the main corridor here. The men's locker room is in this area. As you come through here, we've got lockers, and then we've got restrooms here. We've got 2 showers. We've got steam, sauna, and then we have an outside whirlpool spa with a little seating area. This will be a high wall around it, so it's completely private. We have the same functions in the ladies' area. We have a sauna and not a steam room in the ladies' locker room area. Both the women and the men have these small waiting areas for treatments. There would just be some lounge-type chairs that you would sit in here to sort of before and after treatments to decompress. And then through this door here and this door from the ladies, we have 4 treatment rooms. 2 of the treatment rooms are set up with showers for those kind of treatments that there would be some need to clean up afterwards. And then we have an employee prep room here that has access from the outside it has a laundry in it. It also storage for linens. We have some smaller rooms inside each locker room for additional linen storage. We have a number of renderings that we're proposing. This is the entrance view of the new porte cochere. You can see we've got this lane is going straight on through. We've got this lane going out, and then we have enough space in here for 2 lanes under the porte cochere. In studying the architecture, existing architecture of the clubhouse, it's a very plain, simple, flat roof style of architecture with some clipped corners from 45-degree angles. We felt this is a very straightforward design, and we should work with that and take advantage of the areas that we are improving or adding to provide additional articulation and keep the rest of the building the way it is. We'll just repaint it or repair it if it needs to be repaired. So the elements, we're introducing some new elements, but the building right now is basically plaster. So that will be our main exterior material. We're also adding this ledger stone, which is an area that we would use this material in very high focal areas. Like the porte cochere, we have some of it here, and we have a wall that goes in over on this side, inside the lobby, and extends into the fireplace. This canopy that's over the porte cochere and this trellis that comes along here, as well as these columns. We have the round columns you see throughout. The proposal there is to clad them in a bronze metal. The color is much like you see here. The porte cochere And these trellis areas would be the same color. These would be steel structures that would be finished to match the color of this bronze. This material here is it's a faux onyx material that has some transparency to it. So this would be backlit and create, again, a sense of richness of materials at this entrance and increase the impact of the entrance to the club. Again, you see, what I mentioned, that we have a fire pit here with some soft seating. As you pass through the lobby, this is the lounge. And I mentioned those columns that are embedded into the walls now where the liquor storage is. And by taking that out, you see we open up this space right in here. It opens the width of the whole space and gives it more of a sense of a place, and a place for the circulation to either go into the dining room or you go through and out those doors to the event center or the patio. This is a new fireplace we're proposing, cladded in the same ledger type stone that we had introduced out at the porte cochere. This becomes the focal point of this main middle seating area. Then we have another seating area here and on the other side. The ceiling, we want to drop the ceiling down with these panels with some interesting cove lighting to create sort of a very modern, contemporary look to the lobby. This is a view of the event center, for private parties, private dining. This rendering doesn't exactly match the floor plan because we made a change to the floor plan after the rendering is done, but it does give you the feel for the room. The vantage point is basically from a fireplace that's right here where we've got a soft seating area in front. This is shown with one large table for a private dining setup, and then beyond the glass doors is the patio that we'd flow out onto, which has some lounge seating with a fire pit as well as the dining seating there. Beyond that, you see the 18th green. This is a view looking from the outside back to the private event center. This is the soft seating, the trellis that I mentioned, that would have the fans, mister system, built-in lighting, and heaters. And then the doors would slide open so you could look right into the event center. As I mentioned, this was when we had a little different configuration. This fireplace now is over on this side. And then this room will open to be 140 seats for banquet or 240 seats for theater type seating. Beyond this patio, it sort of extends around over to this new terrace seating area off the dining room. As I mentioned before, this is 18 inches recessed down so that you open up the view over the top of the people sitting out here. This trellis has a little of a canopy type to it, almost a pavilion-like element that gives this space, which is essentially in the middle of the clubhouse, a visual impact from the golf course looking back. Again, we'd have walls of glass that would open up, and it would just open up right down into this space, and we have another fire pit, some soft seating, and dining in this area. This is the new Fitness Wellness Center. The existing halfway house is here. You can see some of the things we're proposing to do is pick up these round columns that are in the bronze sort of around this building to tie it in architecturally. Here's the trellis that ties both of the buildings together. The fireplace I mentioned is here. We've got some soft seating in front of that with some dining seating around here. This is the main entrance into the fitness center. You can see through this glass the equipment, exercise equipment bit here, looking right out up to the mountains and the golf course. Just beyond here, we have our you can see the cart parking right here. It starts and goes further. This is a phasing of the project. It indicates how much of the space is what level of improvement. This area, this is the fitness center, so this is all new. This would be the halfway house that would be basically redecorated. All the brown area here is all the area of the club that is slated for redecorating. Surface, carpet, walls, ceilings, furniture, fixtures if we need to. This area here, it's interior area that's structurally modified, as well as interior finishes. This would be the lobby and the lounge in this new corridor that goes back to the locker rooms in the golf shop. The blue area here, this is all new construction. This is the event center. And then all the yellow is exterior space where most of it is covered with a trellis. And then this area, back of the house, kitchen area, nothing is proposed there unless just for paint and fix-up type of thing. One last thing I wanted to talk about is schedule. Let me go back to. There are some things on the schedule that we can control and some we can't. And one of those things we can control is the city review. I've spoken with the city planning department, and this project, although it has very little impact on the neighbors, it may be reviewed administratively, which would cut the time down to 2 to 3 months of review time. The other way, if they determine that it requires a full public hearing process, then that could be 5 months. The thing that would trigger that is the effect that it would have on the neighbors. And the thought is that most of the neighbors are members here, and if there probably wouldn't be a whole lot of people who would be against the project, seeing the project go forward, hopefully. But so we won't know that until we formally review that with them, and so that would make that's the unknown as far as schedule goes. But nonetheless, if we what we're trying to do is have the club not be affected, have all operations of the club available without shutting anything down except for during the summertime. So we've come up with a plan that I think works. It means phasing it into 2 phases. We would take the first phase, the fitness and wellness center would be on its own track. That would be the first to go. The reason for that is that it's a smaller building. The plans and design and permitting will probably take less time. So we feel that even with the city processing going through their review, that we can be ready to start construction on that by the end of this year or early next year. And given a 6-month construction schedule, that would mean by June of 2016 that building would be done. As we would start both of the existing building modifications and the new building, we would start them at the same time, But then we get to a point and focus everything on getting the fitness center permitted. But we continue with the plans and design and so forth of the existing clubhouse, and be able to, we think, be able to have permits and ready to start construction May of 2016, which would then, we've been given a 7-month construction schedule from 2 different contractors, that would allow the clubhouse to be completed by the end of the year 2016. That's sort of the best case scenario of trying to have the club be available as quickly as possible, the new club, and not to have any shutdown of any of the facilities. There would be a little disruption when they're building the fitness center, because they'd have to fence that off to allow construction to occur. And of course, the halfway house wouldn't be functional during that time of remodeling. But that would be the only inconvenience to the club members. So that concludes our presentation. We feel that if all this is done, that Tamarisk will indeed be competitive with the other clubs in terms of amenities, style, and quality of the other premier clubs in the desert. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. We all agree that it was certainly a beautiful presentation and something that we would all like to see happen. So now we have to try to figure out how we're going to make it happen. As part of the architectural committee, I was more or less, well, I sort of volunteered, but I was more or less assigned the unenviable task of trying to come up with a financing plan so that we could accomplish this great goal. So here's what I've come up with. Part of this is, we'll talk some numbers, but the numbers are not cast in stone. Mostly it's a concept. And if we agree on the concept, then everything will fall into place and it will be something that will work for all of us. If we were to take the project as Bob has just presented, we have cost estimates. They're unnegotiated. They're fairly raw, but they're firm. We have cost estimates of approximately $13.5 million for the entire project. Now, if this is a major if we were to have an assessment, it would come out to about $36,000 a member. However, we propose to finance this project with no assessment. I want to repeat. We propose to finance this project with no assessment. So let me lay out the concept of how that works. Thank you. I would have thought there would have been a little more applause. All right, so here's how it works. We have a bank that is interested in working with us to finance the project. They have worked with other clubs before, and they understand how country clubs work, and they understand our needs. We would finance the project with a combination of equity, which would come from funds we already have on hand, and long-term debt. Again, no assessment. The way we would accomplish this is we would create an additional monthly fee. Well, we have to pay for it. There's no free lunch, guys. We're going to pay for it. All right? But The fact that, no, here's the key point of this entire program. The fact that we do this project with no assessment means we take care of a critical concern of our more senior members. Every member will pay this fee while they're a member of the club. If you're no longer a member of the club, for whatever reason, including the obvious, the fee stops. So there's no assessment, there's no, nothing that's binding in the future. This is a critical point, which is why I keep going over and over it, because if we don't assess, we don't assess. We can create fees, you can think about it in all different ways, but it's an attractive way for us to pay as we go. And it solves a major problem for a good percentage of our membership. The monthly fee, if we did the complete project as Bob presented at $13.5 million, would come out to about roughly $300 a month. Okay? Now but that $300 a month includes a reserve considerably over the required amount of money we will need to service the debt. And that will allow for an accelerated pay down of the loan, so that at the end of the 10-year term, which we've already talked to the bank about a 10-year term, we will have little or zero balloon payment. One of the concerns that I had heard as we were going through this process, and there's some history with other clubs, is that for a lot of different reasons, at some point in the future after clubs undertook a project of this nature, that they got stuck and weren't able to pay. Well, that's an obvious fear, and that's not something we want to allow ourselves to get into. That's clear, okay? Nobody's trying to put this property, this legacy, and the club at risk, okay? Any more than we have to, which is why building in a monthly reserve will allow us to accelerate the pay down, and that's the most important thing, in my opinion. By using this method, we will be able to create an environment which is going to take Tamarisk to the next level. And if we want to simplify this even more, don't think about $13.5 million. Don't think about $36,000 assessment. Don't even think about $300 a month. How about $10 a day? How's that? Okay. I'm sure you have a million questions, of which, yes.
As new members come in, that could go down.
Yes. Terry brought up an interesting point. One of the purposes, by the way, that we felt that we ought to do this renovation is to attract new members. We all know that that's our biggest problem. That's the problem of all country clubs all over the country. But we do feel that if we are able to bring ourselves into a 21st century, more contemporary look and feel with competitive facilities, that we will be able to attract new members. And as we do so, that will be more and more people contributing towards the pay down of this debt, because as it's designed, each member will pay the fee for this particular project. Okay, thank you.